All right, as it is 7 o'clock, I will call to order this meeting of the Town of St. Andrews Planning Advisory Committee. We are here at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex in the council chambers. As I look around to record attendance, I notice that Mr. Tanner's not here, but neither is Mr. Ingalls. He may arrive in the next few minutes. He can catch up if he does. Other than that, everyone is here, so thank you. We have an agenda in front of us. Does anyone have a motion on the agenda? Thank you. Do I have a seconder to accept the agenda? Thanks, Jeremiah. Any additional discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, none opposed. And so we will move forward with that agenda. We also recognize that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Bezgatami people, and we welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. Is there any declaration of conflict of interest? As I look around the table, no hands, so we'll move forward. Thank you. Confirmation of minutes from the August 22nd meeting. We've all had an opportunity to review those. If there is no further discussion, I'll look for a motion to adopt those minutes. Thank you, Mr. Cross. Is there a seconder? Jeremiah, thank you very much. Any edits, changes? If none, I will call the question. All those in favor of approving the minutes from August 22nd, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All hands went up. Thank you very much. None opposed. Perfect. All right, so as we move forward, we have no presentations or delegations, no zoning applications. We have a variance application that we're going to deal with right now. We've got PAC 240907. This is a variance application for PID 01320894 at 258 Montague Street. The applicant is seeking to allow the main building to be extended into the required side yard setback. And Mr. Gopin, if you want to take us through your planning report, please.
So it's this for 258 Montague Street, right in front of Montague and Princess Royal. The applicants are Ben and Zianub Faulkner-Malik, who are the owners of the Montague Road bed and breakfast, which is at its address.
There we go.
Oh, no. Okay. So it's about 2/3 of an acre, the property, 0.63 acres. As I mentioned before, Montague Road bed and breakfast is on the property. In 2021, council rezoned the property to the tourist commercial zone. That was to allow for food service expansion to the general public. So bed and breakfast in homes can offer food service to in residential zones can offer food service to their patrons, but does not allow for food service to the general public. There was a temporary use application before the rezoning and then council for the rezoning. So it is in the tourist commercial zone. They have a food business service open to the public as well as a bed and breakfast, both allowed uses in the tourist commercial zones where you can have more than one use. The current application is to add a residential extension that will go into the side yard of the property. And it will be 35 feet from the side property line, which is usually sufficient for a side yard. But in the case of the tourist commercial zone, it has a special standard when it is abutting a residential use. So in that case, the side yard and rear yards have to be 2 times the height of the main building. So in this case, because the main building is 35.7 feet high, the side yard is required to be 77.4 feet. So it's a significant side yard. And this is the zoning of the property. Let's look at the background. The applicants. That's sure.
No mistake.
So this is the property here, forest guide, my related to the forest. So the pink zone is the forest commercial zone. The yellow zone is the service residential zone. So that's the zone where the side yard is required to be 77.4 feet. And then the other two properties are not in the residential zone, so they're not really relevant, but it's the courthouse and jail or gal and the green space associated with that. So there's no, it would be the rear yard, but there's no requirement for that extra space. It's just the side yard. Just the Service New Brunswick aerial photo of the property. Some aerial photos not too long ago. And there is quite a bit of tree buffer in between these two properties. See? Photos on the ground. And that's kind of to the right of the door is where the extension would go. So that bump out would bump out further. And that's looking towards the residential use. There's a site plan provided by the applicant. So the extension would extend 22 feet, which would be to 35 feet from the side property line. A site sketch submitted by the applicant would not be purple, and you'll see a condition later that relates to how this should tie into the rest of the building. But that's rough sketch to show how it would look before approval is given. Going to get an architect to do a rendering at this stage. For a larger developer, it would be reasonable, but for small business owners and staff, from my opinion, it is not necessary, when there could be some conditions that make sure it does fit in with the rest of the building, which is important. I'll get to that. So some of the legislation to look at that is relevant to this variance. Statements of public interest, so that's that provincial regulation under the Community Planning Act. One of the statements is generally about land use patterns, efficient development. From the user guide for that provided by the province, planning decision to consider a mix of the land uses, provide a range of commercial and residential options within walkable neighborhoods. So this is in the town plat, it's a very walkable neighborhood. Having your business and your residents on one property is about as walkable as you can get, but it also I think it further integrates into the community and kind of adding that gentle density into the neighborhood. It's not new dwelling units, but it is kind of a residential expansion for expansion of family. So another statement to promote a range of housing options in the size, type, density, design. And again, from that user guide, planning decision to consider supporting development of various types of residential housing reflective of anticipated economic, population, and demographic trends. And I'll get to how that's relevant in a minute. Promote and prioritize development in areas of communities with existing or planned public infrastructure and services. And this is a town plat, the service area in town, public road, public sewer, public water. So this is also that style of development. Infill development is heavily encouraged by the provincial regulation. And the municipality's own plan, community plan, environment and climate change, council shall support efficient and sustainable land use, development patterns, mixed uses, densities, supporting pedestrian movement, improving energy efficiency where feasible and appropriate. Very similar to one of those statements. Again, we're a walkway uptown. This will support a family business operating on the property where they have a residence. The business has been operating for over a year now. Well, 2 years, 3 years since the rezoning, without any issues being brought up by the neighbors, at least that I'm aware of. And again, I'll get to the neighbors in a second too. So there's also a housing policy about needs for certain types of populations. And while families isn't necessarily listed there, we just did a bunch of research on demographics of the town as we work on the new municipal plan. And one of the things that was very clear is that young families are a huge demographic need for town. When I speak to real estate agents and other stakeholders, they speak to this. So I would say that young families are one of the special needs populations of town that should be supported in these types of decisions. So that's my note on that. And there is this statement at the end about housing being appropriate to the character of the town. And I believe there are conditions that can ensure that that is the case while supporting other municipal plan and statements of public interest. So external consultation, we did a 100-meter mail out as typical. We had no concerns from that. We had one person write in and say they had no concerns. So that was the only letters that came from that. One helpful thing that the applicant did, they talked to all of their residential neighbors and included letters stating there was no concerns from them as well. Water. So getting into some of the discussion and interpretation of some of these various policies. The intent of this large side yard setback is, I think, to protect residential neighbors. That's why it refers to residential neighbors. In this case, the neighbors, including that particular property, they have no concerns with this. The expansion is really for residential purposes. It's not expanding the business that has sort of taken place with the rezoning of 2021. And it supports a growing family, which we have very clear evidence is one of the biggest demographic needs for the municipality. It's also, adding an extension to a house to support a growing family. That's a very typical historic pattern of development. Many of the homes in St. Andrews and everywhere and of a certain age, they will have these extensions added on at certain times as families grew. What's really important is while this is supported by the legislation I brought up, it is in the town plat. This particular as the house is now, it has been extended onto, I think, over time. There's a mix of siding on it, and my understanding is the applicant wants to sort of reshape everything so it's all consistent with each other, and I think put a new paint job on the whole thing. So given that it is in this relatively prominent location, not right in the historic business district, but it should get some special care and attention. So there's a condition about that, how it would blend seamlessly into the existing style. So staff's recommendation is that PAC approves the side yard variance of 42.4 feet. So that's just the math. If you subtract the 77.4 feet, subtract the 35 feet that would exist tonight, you get 42.4 feet. Subject to the following conditions. Construction plans, including exterior concepts, will be provided to the development officer, most likely myself, to ensure compatibility with the existing structure before any building permit is issued for the extension. This will require a building permit as well as a typical development approval. And that the extension shall not exceed the height of the existing structure. So that's my presentation. There's obviously opportunity for the applicant to speak, for members of the public to speak. But once PAC is ready to make their decision with this type of variance application for a setback, you can motion to approve the application with conditions as per staff recommendation, motion to approve the application with modified conditions, motion to reject the application, or motion to table the application for specific further information. So that's the end of my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gopin. Does anyone from the committee have any questions for the planner at this point? Wow. Thank you. All right, so we would hear from the applicant if you had anything to add to the presentation. Oh. Oh, no. No.
I think Alexandra summed it up pretty well. It's basically with 3 kids now, we need a bigger space for ourselves, and so we're looking to build out for our family to live into. But if you have any extra questions, happy to come back up and answer.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. All right, so now I guess we would hear from any public commentary. Is there anyone that wanted to speak to this application?
If there's anybody online that wishes to speak to this application, please raise your hand. Last call. Anybody who would like to speak to this application, please raise your hand. No one online?
All right.
Anyone in the room like
Anyone
to?
in the room? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So then it's back to the committee. Of course.
It can't go without questions, really. I'm just looking at the design, Ben and Xander. You're going to make, I assume you've already talked about it, that we know that that one piece is already an addition.
Yeah,
This is gonna look like an addition to the addition.
well, it's important that as much as it can, it's just not.
So we're gonna try to carry on the flow of the wood
Yeah.
or what siding, or I don't know what is on the building to make it look like it was added at the same time, at least as the other one.
But if the whole thing is gonna be recited, and again, maybe Ben can answer some of those questions, then
Yeah.
it,
And my other question is then in the same picture, Ben, you're fine to go up. It's the same question. You didn't bring the roof line up to the existing portion. You're gonna drop it a bit as well. You're not gonna take it up to the roof line of the other building?
Yeah, so we're looking at a 2-story addition, so it'll be way below here.
Okay.
And right now, I don't know if you want to pass the house, they painted white with black shutters. That's more traditional look, and the new addition is gonna go the same color.
So try to blend it all in. Okay.
Anyone else? Anyone interested in making a motion on this application? All right.
I move that the Planning Advisory Committee for the Town of St. Andrews approves the variance application for PID 013-20894, 258 Montague Street for Ben and Zianub Faulkner-Malik to allow a side yard variance of 42.4 feet to allow an extension of the main building, subject to the following conditions. 1, construction plans including exterior concepts will be provided to the development officer to ensure compatibility with the existing structure. Pardon me.
You don't even make any noise.
Compatibility with the existing structure before any building permit is issued for the extension. And 2, that the extension shall not exceed the height of the existing structure. And I so move.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder? Mr. Simmons, thank you very much. There's no further discussion. I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving this variance application for PID 013-20894 as moved, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And none opposed, that motion is carried. Thank you very much. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. All right, so we will move along now. We have reference number PAC 240908. This is a variance application for PID 01323831 at 49 Alexandra Crescent. The applicant in this case is seeking to create a lot with an undersized width in the service residential zone. At this point, we'll turn it over to Ms. Hartford for your presentation.
Thank you very much. One moment, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is the Danny Bird variance application, and the applicant requests to create one lot with a variance in the proposed lot dimensions. This is a site plan here that was provided with the application. You'll see the existing house on the property, the road frontage of 150 feet with the depth of 164 feet. And in this concept, it shows where the setback would be. And the setback is measured at 10 feet, but it would actually be 8 feet and 5 feet. And with the concept of where the dwelling could be at 1,320 square feet. So for the background, this is a service residential SR zone. And as the property is outside the town plat, it is not subject to the secondary municipal plan guidelines on development. So for setback, maximum lot coverage, building height and massing. The parent property has a single unit dwelling with an area of 2,226 meters square. And so the lot standards for the SR zone are lot minimum area of 744.2 meters square and a lot frontage of 24.4 meters with a lot depth of 30.5 meters. So the lot is quite a bit larger than the typical lot that you will see created now. So the proposed lot has the minimum area and depth, and so the variance request is for the minimum width. And the site plan was demonstrated or submitted to demonstrate how the lot could accommodate a dwelling, meeting the setbacks and lot coverage. Notification of this PAC meeting was sent to properties within 100 meters, and PAC did receive 2 letters back. So you see this is an aerial photo, and the lot would be created between the 2 houses here. You see at 49 and then the adjacent. And so there's a hedge along Alexandra Crescent, and the lot would be created behind that hedge. So you see here, this would be looking into where the lot will be created. And if we zoom back out, behind that hedge, again, will be where the lot will be created. So the remnant portion where the existing house is now would maintain 80 feet, which is the minimum width by bylaw, and the new lot would have 70 feet of lot width. So PAC is being asked to consider a variance for the proposed lot. The variance requested is a variance of 3.06 meters, so 10 feet, and that would be a 12.5% variance in width. So the general intent of the bylaw is to regulate minimum area of a parcel of land to be developed to ensure setbacks and lot coverage standards are met to maintain the town's character. Historically, the lot requirements for the SR zone outside the town plat were 18.3 meters for frontage, which would be 60 feet, 30 meters depth, 100 feet, and an area of 557 meters square. And so that was, in the earliest bylaw I could find, that was 1979, and that minimum frontage didn't change until 1998. So the undersized lot would still maintain the town's character. So the proposed creation of the undersized lot does meet the general intent of the bylaw, as the setbacks and lot coverage can be met. So therefore, it is the opinion of staff that the proposed variance is reasonable or desirable for the development of land is within the general intent of the bylaw. So for the recommendation, staff recommends that the Planning Advisory Committee approve the requested variance in width to allow for the creation of lot as the variance is reasonable or desirable for the development of land and is within the general intent of the bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Does anyone from the committee have questions?
Madam Chair, just for clarification, PAC received 4 letters.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Good question.
Yes, Jeremiah.
Maybe I missed this, but what is the intent of the structure of the carriage house? Is this going to be full-time residence, or is this going to be an Airbnb? What's the plan?
No, my understanding this is going to be for a single family dwelling.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll just call on you in just one moment. Any other questions for the planner at this time? No? Yes.
So Judy, we currently don't have any regulations regarding short-term rentals. Is that correct? Xander?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Depending on the zone. So in the service residential zone, they have to be secondary to a main use. A main residential use. They can't be the primary use of a property. In the service residential zone.
So this won't be an addition. That's right, that's right.
Right.
If there's no other questions for the planner, I'll move on. If the applicant wanted to offer some comments, that would be wonderful. Come on up, hi.
I'll offer a few comments. Gonna be a new house. Partner Helen and I, my daughter and her husband live in Greenwood, Nova Scotia. They decided they'd like to purchase my house. Well, I want to make that happen for them. I don't want to leave St. Andrews to do it. I'm getting ready to retire. I work away most of the year, but I live in St. Andrews in the winter. I don't know what else to say. There wasn't much room on that form to elaborate that it's going to be a private residence. I'm led to believe that people said it's going to increase traffic and I'm going to have an Airbnb. Well, that's not true. Truth is, my daughter and her husband and her family are going to purchase my house. And hopefully Helen and I'll get permission to build our house on the lot next door. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that enough?
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Bird?
Well, Jeremiah got my first one, but I have a second one. When you go to do your extension of your driveway, are you gonna slash and burn the hedge, or are we gonna maintain the hedge for privacy from the street?
I plan on putting a
And-
driveway through the hedge.
Yes,
I'll have separate.
yes, but there must be some existing hedge that will remain, or will that all be gone from the roadway? Okay,
Maybe 10 feet, whatever it takes.
I was just thinking about the privacy and the,
Yeah.
yeah, well, it looks terrible, but yeah, yeah. They've eaten most of it.
Anyone else? Did anyone else from the public have any comments to make? Oh, certainly.
I didn't go around to all my neighbors because I was away. And I thought the guy that I hired to do this drawing and all this stuff would have done that. Or told me that I would have had to do it, and I apologize for not going to see it. But, it's done now, so.
Mhm. So any comments from within the room? No? Anybody online?
For those that are online, would you like to raise your hand if you have any comments? Last call. For those that are online, would you like to raise your hand if you have any comments?
No?
The only comment is
Sorry, could I just get you to identify yourself, please? Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
all the houses up together. The rules were made not to be broken. Rules were made for a reason.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Well, thank you. And nobody online, Paul? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, thanks.
They're having difficulty hearing online, so
Oh, yes, I understand. Yeah.
no comment.
No comment. All right, wonderful. All right, so once again, back to the committee for deliberations. Jeremiah?
In the past, I don't know, 5-10 years, has anything similar to this come across the board on properties, and may I ask how that went?
You mean under houses on a secondary property, Jeremiah?
Yes. Yeah.
We just dealt with one not long ago
Yeah.
on the corner of Queen, where the lady built a home in her backyard.
It was
But she took the application off the table the first time, but then brought it back because it was gonna be her residence and her family was moving into the other. But that didn't even separate. That was
That's right. That was in
that
it.
was same lot.
Yeah.
Same house,
Right.
pretty tight,
Yeah.
but secondary driveway added from Queen, I think, wasn't it? In the end, but that's the most recent one.
Well,
that
there
we-
was, if I may, there was one on Water Street that was requested to subdivide, and it would have created an undersized lot there as well. I think that's maybe the more recent one. What's the cross street? Does anyone remember? Water and Mary, maybe?
It was Mary or Adolphus.
Yeah, Mary or Adolphus.
So. Yeah, that was a super tiny lot too.
Yeah,
Right on
yeah.
the property line.
So we do get these applications. We do
Okay.
get these up. No,
No. Okay.
yeah, it would have been the similar sort of thing, yeah. Yes.
I don't have a question. I guess I have a perspective. I can certainly understand the concern around requests for variances to lot size and where do we go with that? I think the challenge for us as a town is how do we encourage and support growth? A term that I've heard Xander use a lot that comes from the statements of public interest is the importance of paying attention to gentle densification. So it's not about building high rises, it's about, where can we support houses or dwellings to be built to encourage people to move to the town plat or to move into St. Andrews. And for me, I think that this application allows for that gentle densification and supports families being able to support other families moving closer. So that's my statement.
Thank you. Kevin,
I have another question, actually. Sorry.
that's fine.
We didn't get any street to building renderings, Xander. Is it a story and a half? Is it 2.5 stories? Is it 2 garages on the bottom and then living accommodations on the second floor?
This was Judy's file, so.
Oh.
Oh, sorry,
That's-
Judy,
that's Judy
back
about
to
that.
you.
Sorry, I was jumping in for a zoning
I can't
thing.
even get an answer out of Xander. Come on now.
So the renderings were not given with the application, as this was just for the variance, but when the applicant applies for a building permit, that definitely will be considerations taken and public works review. As far as how many stories, it just says 1,320 square feet is what they've put in to the plan to show that it could meet the lot coverages and that it could meet all the applicable setbacks for the zone.
So does that need to be, just like in the former file, we added that as a condition? Does that need to be a condition here? That the renderings,
Madam Chair,
Yes,
as it is just the variance, if the application had that stipulation that the renderings would have to be reviewed prior as like in a building permit, then the whoever buys the property then would have to apply and what their renderings would look like. So the variance would be held up for renderings, but depending who buys this lot and what, configuration, what type and style of home they're doing, I think that would be more on the end when the building permit comes through. But I think if that stipulation is put on the variance couldn't be approved until the building application could come in, and it'll be coming in on a lot that hasn't been graded yet.
right.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Thank you.
So I have one more question then. If the size of the building, we're just saying it's not on there, does that lot meet the requirements for an undersized town lot, or is it still too narrow? It's definitely deep enough.
Yes, yeah, deep enough and
Judy.
square footage is good.
Yeah,
It's just the
so
width.
it's just the, okay.
Yeah, it's a 10-foot variance in the width.
Oh,
So
it's a 10
the-
foot.
Yeah, so the remnant itself, the whole portion of the property is 150 feet now. Minimum lot size is 80. So if the 80 is kept for the existing single-family dwelling, the new lot created would have a 10-foot variance.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect.
You're welcome.
Last call for questions. If not, I would entertain a motion on this application.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that the Planning Advisory Committee of the Town of St. Andrews approves the variance application for PID 01323831 49 Alexandra Crescent for Danny Bird to create a lot with an undersized width in the service residential SR zone as it is reasonable or desirable for the development of the land and within the general intent of the zoning bylaw.
Thank you for your motion. Is there a seconder? Second, Mr. Cross. Thank you very much. Further discussion, questions? If not, I'm ready to call the question. All those in favor of approving the variance for PAC 240908 as indicated, please signify by saying aye. 1, 2, 3, 4 hands up. Thank you very much. This is also carried. So those two variances having been dealt with, thank you very much. We have no terms and conditions applications, no sign applications. Thank you. Nothing under new business. Any PAC member comments? No? Wonderful. And we have no closed items. And if all that is done at 7:40, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.